We got a major report to discuss today on the Commanders Report as the Commanders are reportedly have quote-unquote significant interest in a trade for San Francisco 49ers receiver Deebo Samuel. I'll let you guys know my thoughts on a potential Deebo trade here in the nation's capital. Make sure you guys stay tuned because I've also got a big update when it comes to a potential Myles Garrett trade that you guys are not going to want to miss. Before we get into the content today, guys, if a trade happens, make sure you guys are subscribed because we're going to have you guys covered with extensive breaking news coverage right here on the Commanders Report for you guys to enjoy. Me and Joey Peterson will go live right here on this channel if the Commanders and Adam Peters execute a big-time trade, whether it's Myles Garrett, whether it's Deebo Samuel, if it's another big-name player. We'll be right here breaking it down live for you guys right here on the channel. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now to never miss any breaking news action. All right, so let's start with the report from Jordan Schultz earlier today saying sources, the Commanders and Texans have had significant interest in trading for 49ers wide receiver Deebo Samuel, with talks progressing in recent days, sources tell Fox. Other teams, including the Steelers and Broncos, have also checked in, but Houston and Washington are believed to be the most aggressive. Now, when it comes to this potential fit, I really love this pairing, guys. I think it would be so much fun to see Deebo Samuel in a Washington Commanders uniform and in Kliff Kingsbury's offense. You take a look at his profile here. Deebo is still on the right side of 30, but he's only got one more year before he gets into his 30s. He still brings great size to the table. 6 foot tall, 215 pounds. He's known as one of the best run-blocking wide receivers in the National Football League and as a great runner after the catch. He's known as kind of a versatile offensive weapon. He's played running back before for the 49ers. He's used on screens. He's used on dig routes. He's used as an orbit player. He's used as a jet sweep player. You can use Deebo Samuel in a bunch of different ways. And I think that's exactly why the Washington Commanders have this quote-unquote significant interest in acquiring Deebo Samuel. And I would love to see what Deebo looks like in this very creative Kliff Kingsbury offense. Because the thing about Kliff, and we saw this last year, he likes to use multiple people in the backfield. It was a lot of 2 running back sets for the Washington Commanders last year, putting Austin Eckler and then Brian Robinson Jr. out there at the same time. You could have formations out there where you have Deebo Samuel lining up next to Jaden Daniels, orbit motion, and getting out there into the slot as well. Pre-snap motions. Like, you can really F with some defenses and their alignments with a guy like Deebo Samuel that can shift all over the formation. And with a creative offensive mind like Kliff Kingsbury, I think that Deebo Samuel can be a versatile Swiss Army knife weapon who's an incredible run blocker. He's great after the catch. I think that with a guy like Kliff that likes to run as much early down screens as he likes to run, Deebo is perfect for that kind of thing. Jet sweeps, orbit motions, being able to line up in the backfield, to be able to line up outside, to be able to line up in the slot. Deebo Samuel has done it all, and I think that, alongside Terry McLaurin, what Kliff Kingsbury would love is have a player like Deebo that he can move all over the place on this team, and I think that would be something that would be super, super fun to watch on Sundays for the Burgundy and Gold. But I think the price needs to be right here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think you want to overpay for a guy like Deebo Samuel because plain and simply, his production has gone down pretty significantly, especially last year with the San Francisco 49ers. And I don't think you want to make too much an investment in somebody that is getting older and would be, at best, the number 2 wide receiver on the Washington Commanders next year. For me personally, if I'm Adam Peters, I'm giving a call to San Francisco, and I'm offering a 5th-round pick. All right, and that's what I'm offering. I'm not really wanting to give up more than that. This is still a team that is somewhat rebuilding. They're still building the foundation for the future here in Washington, and I wouldn't want to give up anything more than a 5th-round pick for somebody that is getting older like Deebo Samuel is. I think the bigger question, though, is not necessarily trade compensation for Deebo. I think it's going to be some sort of day 3 pick no matter who ends up getting him. I think the big question is, what does Deebo want about a potential new contract? Because he only has 1 more year left on his current deal, and the cap hit for the Washington Commanders, if traded for him and he plays on his final year, would just be less than $2 million. And that's another reason why I'm very much in favor of potentially going out and getting Deebo, is because if you don't have to give him a new deal, then you don't have to pay him all that much, and you're still getting that versatile Swiss Army knife weapon for Kliff Kingsbury to utilize and deploy in this Commanders offensive attack. You take a look at the cash breakdown here from Deebo Samuel and what the 49ers are slated to pay him. So his base salary next year, just $1.17 million. And then his roster bonus is $0.75 million. So if traded, the Commanders are only on the hook for these two things. All right, but then the stuff that the 49ers are on the hook for, the option bonus and the workout bonus there, that is over $15 million. All right, so next year, Deebo Samuel is still slated to make $17.5 million. And, it's going to be interesting to see if he wants that new deal, if he's willing to play on the final year to try to increase his value on the open market heading into 2026. I think a new deal projection for him, for somebody like Deebo at this stage in his career, is somewhere around 2 years, and then somewhere in between $25 to $30 million total. So that's $12.25 to $15 million per season. I still think he brings a lot of value to an NFL offense, and with the cap going up, I do think that he is worth at least a little bit of money, but I think that would be more than fair for a guy like Deebo, who didn't exactly have the best season last year with the 49ers, and who knows, maybe he does plan to play out the final year of his contract next year, and I think that would be good for the Commanders because then you can make a decision about his future after the 2025 season. It's a little bit of a risk because you'd have to pay him more to bring him back. But honestly, I think that this is probably the more ideal situation because the cap hit would be a lot lower for Deebo in 2025 if they end up playing him on just a one-year contract that he currently has with the 49ers. So my big message to Adam Peters when it comes to Deebo Samuel, I would be interested in him as well, but I would not be interested in overpaying. All right, I am not letting John Lynch, my former boss, fleece me in a trade. I'm not going to let that happen. And you know what? If they miss out on Deebo Samuel and the Houston Texans go out and get him and they completely outbid him, so be it. All right, we know DeMeco Ryans, the head coach there in Houston, used to work for Kyle Shanahan there in San Francisco. And, of course, he had Deebo Samuel on his team. So I think DeMeco would probably really, really want Samuel on his football team. And if they're willing to offer a fourth-round pick, I'm not really willing to up my offer here, guys. This is my offer. I would say take it or leave it, San Francisco. What do you guys think? A for accept or D for decline? Would you send a fifth-round pick for Deebo Samuel to add him to the Washington Commanders offense? This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second, I'll tell you about a great deal from our friends at Fanatics. When I'm talking about Fanatics here, go down there in the comment section and give me an A or a D to let me know your thoughts on this potential trade idea. With that, I want to tell you about this great deal that you guys can get from our friends at Fanatics here. It's an awesome Commanders t-shirt that you guys can wear to Commanders training camp this year, just lounging around the house or on game days. And the best part about this, guys, is not only do you get that t-shirt, but you also help out our channel here at the Commanders Report because Fanatics, every time that you guys use our link, chatsports.com/Commanders shirt, and you make a purchase, Fanatics is going to send us part of the proceeds, and that money helps us buy new equipment. It helps us improve our graphics here on the Commanders Report. So if you guys want to help out the channel here, guys, we greatly appreciate it. Help yourself out by getting a new shirt and help us out here by giving us part of the proceeds when you go to chatsports.com/Commanders shirt and get your new Commander shirt in your closet today. So a big Myles Garrett update here came from Mar Kay Cabot, who reports on the Cleveland Browns yesterday at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, and she reports that Myles Garrett says he is, quote-unquote, not open to signing an extension with the Cleveland Browns this offseason. Of course, the last several weeks we've been talking about Garrett as a potential trade target because he officially requested a trade away from the Cleveland Browns. And what this report tells us, guys, is that we're one step closer to seeing this guy in a Commander's uniform. And you got to love that, man, because this guy has the potential to be a huge, huge, huge game-changing presence on the Commanders' defense, which obviously needs to get better heading into 2025 if this team wants to hoist a Lombardi trophy next February in San Francisco. And you guys can, these two guys right here, Andrew Berry, the GM, and Kevin Stefanski, the head coach in Cleveland, they can say all they want that they're not trading Myles Garrett. Oh, we're not entertaining trade ideas right now. It's just posturing, all right? I don't think they have much of a choice here. And, I think that they have certain things that they can offer Myles. They can offer to make him the highest paid defender in football history. They can offer to give him say in the number 2 overall draft pick that they have this year. There's a lot of power that they could give Myles Garrett to keep him around in Cleveland, but it doesn't seem like Myles is particularly interested in sticking around. It looks like he not only wants to get paid, but he also wants to play for a contender, and he doesn't believe the Cleveland Browns are capable of doing that. And I think out of all the teams in the National Football League, in terms of the trade, the people in the teams that would be willing to give up first-round draft picks the way that you would need to get a guy like Myles Garrett and have the cap space available to pay him what he wants in a contract, Washington, to me, makes the most sense because there just aren't a lot of teams out there that are willing to part ways with not only 2 first-round draft picks at least, which is what it's probably going to cost to get Garrett on a football team via trade, but also pay him upwards of like $40 million or close to that on his next contract per season. All right. There's just not a lot of teams that have both the cap space and are good enough where they don't necessarily, where they feel good enough about sending away 2 first-round draft picks to the Cleveland Browns. I think Washington is for sure one of those teams, which is why they should be very heavily considered by the Cleveland Browns if and when they do decide to let go of Myles Garrett. In 2024, guys, the big game-changing move not only was the great foundational work that Josh Harris, the owner, did. He hired Adam Peters, who appears to be a home run hire, and then Peters then hired Dan Quinn, who has been a home run hire, as the head coach of this football team. And then those two made the great decision to go with Jaden Daniels, number 2 overall in the NFL draft last year. It looks like he is primed to have 4 seasons here on a rookie-controlled contract, which is going to give this team ample cap space to be able to go out and compete for championships. Let's be honest, man. Like those 2 first-round picks, they're probably going to be later in the first round. I think that this team can seriously consider giving away 2 first-round draft picks in exchange for a guy like Myles Garrett, who could be that game-changing presence that Jaden Daniels was for the offense last year. Myles Garrett can have a similar type of impact for the Commanders' defense this next year. We all know how good the Commanders' offense is with Jaden Daniels, and they're going to be adding more weapons around him and to get him a better offensive line this offseason. That offense is only going to get better. But this defense is really going to be a huge X factor for this football team in 2025, guys, because it wasn't good enough last year. And if you can get this guy on your football team and he's attacking quarterbacks week in and week out, things are going to change on the defensive side of the ball for this Commanders team. It doesn't really matter who else they do decide to put around them. So let me know down there in the comments section, would you pay what it takes, 2 first-round picks and the highest contract in the history of the NFL for a defensive player for Myles Garrett? I personally think it's definitely worth it. I would be accepting that trade and signing that contract right now if I were the Commanders GM and I had that offer on the table. But let me know what you guys think down there about a potential Myles Garrett trade. That'll be it for us here at the Commanders Report today. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. We got more Commanders content coming your way all throughout the weekend, heading into next week as well. So make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders.